Dr. Ranjan Satish, Mr. Samir Sharma, Ashok Kulkarni, and Mr. Arun. And Dhaval Ashok Kulkarni. So the topic for the session 2 is use of IT in data collection. Uh, we earlier heard about in the in the preliminary session, opening session, about how SQs get so much of data, and how is this data going to be used in terms of whether it is improving operations or improving efficiency or improving safety. So there is a really very high value to the data that is being collected, and how do we really use it? So without taking much time, let me introduce the panel to you. We'll have the first presentation today by Dhaval Ashar. Dhaval is with WRI team in Mumbai office, and he's leading the safety work there. So Dhaval, why don't you start with your presentation?
Hi everyone, welcome to Talking Transit. And so yeah, like Pawan said, today's session, like this session is focused on the role of IT in data collection that can aid operations, efficiency and safety for public transport agencies. So we really have a very esteemed panel today that we will introduce in due course. But we're going to have a lot of conversations around what are the various technologies that we can use to collect data that can again further use. So I want to, without taking much time, I want to quickly introduce one such technology that there is, and what are the parameters that we can kind of go ahead and use for making the best use of this system. So this is called a, I'm sure all of you all know what this is. It's an in-vehicle monitoring system. What I will in my presentation, my presentation is really short because I want to give the experts a lot more time to share with you their experiences. So I want to just describe about a vehicle tracking unit and how it can be used as an instrument to improve both safety and efficiency. So vehicle tracking unit, we all know is a unit that we will fit into the buses. What we are saying is that the vehicle tracking unit should have a GPS plus a GPRS. So GPS is going to give you the exact lat long of where your bus is at every moment. And through GPRS, you can relay the information to a system. And by that setting, you can collect a lot of data. Now, the typical architecture of a VTU is a GPS tracking device, a server, and a user interface. A user interface, I mean a dashboard that gives you all the, a dashboard of all the data that you've collected. What is the use of VTU as I propose, and I'm sure this is not exhaustive. There may be a lot of other parameters that maybe some of you collect, maybe you want to collect. But so one of the things is we can use it in driver management. So you can collect data that can inform you about rash driving. So you can measure harsh braking and harsh acceleration. You know which driver is driving the bus at that time. You can measure over speeding. You know which driver. You can measure drivers skipping the bus stops. And SOS in case of emergency. The driver pushes a button. There is a notification in the control room. So once you know this helps in driver training. You can pick those drivers who are faring poorly on all of these parameters and train them separately. It kind of really saves a lot of time and improves safety and efficiency. The other is vehicle management. Through VTU, you can measure parameters like bus bunching, accidents, breakdowns, and then buses that are so engine temperature, fuel amount, tire pressure, and closing, opening of door. Again, the next thing that you can measure is journey management. So you can see if there has been a route deviation, an early arrival or a late departure, trip statuses and long stoppages that can inform decision making. And the last is health, safety, security and environment. So this, it can be used to check the health of the vehicle. I mean, it's pretty much overlapping with some of the parameters that we measured in the earlier sections. So check the health of the system. Safety and security can be ensured of the vehicle at all time. Helps reduce wastage of fuel as trips could be planned more optimally, and the location information could feed into creating a certain passenger information system. So yeah, I mean, these are some of the benefits by measurement of these parameters through a vehicle tracking unit, and the entire system, as we call it, is called a in-vehicle monitoring system. So with that, I would like to just stop and open it up for presentations, and they will in detail, since they are working, each one of them is working in this area, let us know about what they are doing, and then we'll follow it by a discussion. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Dhaval, for the overview. Let me now call upon Dr. Ranjan Satish. A brief introduction. Dr. Ranjan Satish is the director at ATIC Data Systems. He leads strategy, marketing, product development, and professional services for fleet management.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to WRI for inviting me to participate in Connect Courage, an event focusing on sustainable cities. Today I am here to share our experience in implementing in-vehicle monitoring systems, namely IVMS. The Indian telematics industry has started in the early 2000s. As you are aware, any technology takes some time to settle down, to produce certain results, depending upon the environment and the stakeholders. The adaptation may be slow. So what we have seen is there were quite early entrants. They could not sustain the curve because of the fact they were shakeouts due to the technology was not being stabilized. Presently, it has picked up the momentum and started growing rapidly. The major segments are the commercial telematics, intelligent bus transportation systems, connected cars, emergency management system or responsive system, etc. So, moreover, many startups identified their markets using this technology as an enabler for their businesses. The recent success story, which we have seen in the space of taxi aggregation, or many other startups to organize an unorganized transport to organized services, as a transport and logistics services, it has played a major role of IVMS. Now going to other aspect of it, as you are aware, it has been predominantly used in the area of police, patrol management, traffic management, garbage collection, and today we are more focused on looking at an intelligent bus transportation system in all the major cities with a new initiative coming up from the government. So also we have got our own R&D and area where we have seen Indian regional navigational satellite systems are already started with the satellites to offer us the data. Now let me share you something about the future of telematics. What is actually seen here? We seen that there was a hype which was being there for any new technology, and today telematics has come to a stage where it started giving us good results, and we need to bring in more importance in adopting these technologies for the betterment of the improving the efficiency. I would like to share you a little more about the transport management framework. It starts from the vehicle selection to the driver selection and journey management, and not the least of driver training and in-vehicle monitoring system. So this framework gives us an understanding that there is some important element of a driver training required for us to achieve the desired results. And many of us are still not given enough of emphasis on how do we come out with a strong training module which will help these drivers to perform better. And all the forums talks about different technologies, different gadgets, whatnot around us. But how many of us have given enough of thoughts about what exactly these drivers require? Now, quickly getting onto a monitoring dashboard. This will help us to know how well a driver has been performed his job. Here we see all these informations including excessive accelerations, harsh braking, harsh cornering or accident, so on and so forth, all the parameters has achieved with a technology of integrated accelerometers. And to spend 2 minutes on this, it has also have got, even we can measure the throttle level and the engine parameters. Esteemed speaker, Mr. Ashok Kulkarni here, he has been using this data over a period of 2 decades, and I know for sure he will be coming with a lot of information for you. So this is about the rest of the aspect of it, reducing the cost of, in terms about saving the fuel, improving the driver performance and fleet utilization and the workforce management. So as a value proposition, what we see that ensure the user understand the data and engage the driver and prove an ROI and ROI model and adopt a personal approach. Thank you so much for your time and thanks to WRI.
Thank you, Satish, for that valuable insight on what all we can, how we can monitor our drivers in terms of moving towards safety. Now let me, as we move on, Mr. Ashok Kulkarni. Mr. Kulkarni works with Shell Foundation, with Shell, and he's been working towards goal zero on achieving zero fatalities, and he's the safety manager. He has over 30 years of experience across the globe, and he has demonstrated the use of technology on monitoring driver behavior in commercial transport operations. In fact, we have been working on looking at safety data of different SKUs. And one interesting fact I also wanted to share about Shell is that in the last 2 years, probably they have had 0 accidents with all their fleets. And I think it's one of the best system on safety that we all can learn from. And I'm really looking forward to your session, sir, on how STUs, which face the challenge of not only the driver behavior but also the other users, because a lot of times, it's a very mixed traffic, and what we can learn on moving towards this Vision Zero in our cities. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What I will try and do is, I think 10 minutes is a very short time. Normally, when I stand on this, it's about 2 to 3 hours time. And the first question normally people ask is, what has Shell got to do with road safety? And you are selling petrol, diesel, lubricants. Why don't you do that job? Why are you talking road safety? But to give you a brief indication, globally, people like me, we are 28 people in Shell world. Our job is mainly to look after the road safety. Now I start with safety, and I think Dr. Ranjan covered what the system is, because that's what we started with. But there is, over a period of 4 or 5 years, we found out that although we started it as safety, it has a tremendous economical benefits which we didn't know how to use. I think the morning session was saying you should know what you want. I wanted to almost stand up and say that time, don't restrict yourself to that. Yes, obviously go and get what you want, but also look what else is available in the market. Maybe something will be useful to you later. So, addition to that morning session is, Don't restrict to what you want. Obviously, you want to define what you want and ask for it. That's where vendors will supply you. Open system is great, but more than that, keep your eyes and ears open what else is available which can be used by you, and there are many things one can use. So let me quickly run through the first few slides. We will run through this and say, Shell is a very complex company. For outsiders, it looks very simple, straightforward, one company, but we are as good as 16, 17 different companies internally. We are upstream, we are downstream, we are project and technology. Within downstream, we have got retail, commercial, lubricants. They all have their own systems and processes. So very complicated structure. So everybody has got their own contracts, everybody has their own systems, procedures. Somewhere at a global level, you need to bring all together, and there are few departments in Shell which work across like this. Road safety is one of them. So we have got a lot of projects going on. We have got ships running around, but then the ships can go only up to the jetty or the port or SBM, and then you still need something else to take the product out. And of course, we have got plenty of filling stations where you need to take the product. Most importantly, our people is what we are worried about. We are operating invariably in the communities. If you go and put in a depot in the middle of the city, and then you have hundreds of trucks operating in and out, not only it's your risk transport right, but you are affecting the community also. You need to look after the safety of the community as well as your drivers, your product. So a very complex system. So road safety is the first thing. In Shell, any meeting starts with two things. One is safety, how did we do? And invariably there will be an announcement, how do you go out in case of an emergency. So that is safety is built in throughout the organization. We are in about 80 countries, so complex situations, different setup, 85,000 full-time employees. It keeps on reducing with the oil price going to $35. And we obviously are driving close to 1 billion kilometers every year globally. And we have about 50,000 sites. But most important to us is that one simple sentence, and that is, every person who comes to work for Shell should go back in the evening home the way he or she came to office. That's our theory and that's our motto, and that's what we work for. I will now jump straight to the part. Normally it would have taken a long time to bring into why did we go into IBMS, but I suppose Dr. Ranjan has given indication what was available. At one time in Shell, we used to have 40 to 50 fatal incidents per year. And as Pawan mentioned, I am happy to say, and I am touching wood, any moment anything can happen. We have now crossed 2 years without a recordable fatal incident, which means we have driven close to 2 billion kilometers around the world in countries like States, probably, and Europe, which are very well safe, great roads, but also in countries like India, Pakistan, even in some of the African countries like Djibouti, Burundi, Ethiopia, which are not all that safe. India is far better than when you compare those countries. So it's a great achievement, we are proud of it. What IBMS is giving in addition to the safety that I'm talking about is what you can see, it can reduce, there are many economical benefits coming out of it. And I will show you, after this I have got simple slides, you will understand what those slides are, I don't have to talk. So let me say a little bit more on this. I'm trying to compare this with what I heard in the morning, with bus service. Yeah, I go and sell my petrol, diesel, and my job is to load it in the depot, deliver it to the site. Compare it with the bus, what is it? The site manager wants the product to come at the right time, which is what you all say customer service, right? And obviously he wants it at the right time. Great. He also wants it correct product, right time coming in. If you can deliver these to your customer service is already there. There will be little more when it comes to passengers, comfortable seat, clean rust, etc. But let's jump to the what's relevant to us. But if you use this IBMS system to help your vehicle maintenance, thereby reduce breakdown. I heard something like saying so many trip cancellation. Maybe because of traffic jam, maybe because of breakdown, maybe because of somebody doesn't turn up driver. Hundreds of things are involved. We need to work on that. System, if you are nicely tuned, can be used for all those things. In terms of vehicle, the IVMS actual benefits that we are coming to look at, the effect that comes out. Any given time, if you know where the vehicle is, you can schedule it, you can change it, you can ask him to go to some other site which is running dry. You can make many other benefits if you use it correctly. So what we use it for? We started using it mainly for the safety. And initially when we put it in, we had nothing of the economic part of it. It was purely for how can we reduce our incident and make it zero. That was goal zero was our vision. We started looking at only 4 basic elements, but I can tell you today's IVMS can take as many as 40, 50 different elements, they monitor and they can give you the report. But we do have different systems, but we went in saying these are the minimum 4 we are going for. Speeding, harsh acceleration, braking. If you take away the harsh braking, you are taking away in all probability an incident. So how do you train your driver not to use harsh brake? That's where the whole thing starts off with. Driving hours is because Europe and America there is already a control over driver hours. You can't drive more than X number of hours. But in other countries, there is nothing like it. The more you drive, the more you earn. So people will drive 24 hours. They sleep wherever they want, but that leads to a lot of fatigue, distraction, and thereby accidents. So we had to come out and put our own rules that you will not drive more than 10 hours a day, and we wanted to monitor that. So those were the 4 items. Many other things can be monitored. As I said, as many as 40 different items you can monitor from IVMS. This is where I will have to talk a little. It is for you to look and see. By using these 4 basic requirements and adding to that the driver identification, we were able to put together every driver's performance around the world. So today when I'm speaking, all 14,000 trucks, tankers that you see of the Shell on the road are fitted with this. So we will have information of every driver. Now one big thing that comes out of this is you are not braking harsh, you are not revving it up, accelerating. Automatically your maintenance cost goes down, your tire cost goes down. Because your incidents have gone down, your insurance claims come down, obviously a lot of repair cost is saved. The next few slides are only going to show what have been saved over a period of years, and probably we are now almost stopping. We can't do much more than this. We need to do something different. Driver training was the word used, and that is very important because I want to say IVMS alone will not give any result. If you put IVMS alone, it's as good as not putting it. Must extract the data out, must analyze, and then train those who are not driving correctly. Those steps have to follow, then only you get the real results. This is in the country that we are talking about. This is per number of incidents per million kilometers that we are talking about. Down from 0.22 to 0.08. No wonder if you can eliminate so many incidents, you must have eliminated the serious or the fatal incidents in them. This is the best chart for me, and this is best chart because I like it. It happened in one of the worst countries, in Ethiopia. Put them in. See how fast it goes down, and this country used to have about 40 to 50 rollover incidents per year. The vehicles will, because they have such great road, Ethiopia is no training driver, anybody can go and get a license, but then you have wonderful roads. So they drive the way they like, lose control, rollover. Number of rollovers used to be 40, was reduced down to 10 the last when we were there. But we sold off the business after that. But that was a classic case of saying drivers becoming so much compliant to the driving laws. Yeah, I think I suppose this is more or less the same 90% of this. If you look at this, these are the economic benefits. This is, when I speak most of the time, I speak to either safety people or the business managers. And it's always said that don't talk business to safety and don't talk safety to business, because the requirements are different. But I would say, I would talk exactly the other way around. I would like to talk safety to the business and say what your business is causing to the community and the world, how can you help us reduce it? And I will go to safety and say how can you make them beneficial so that they sell more products, they get more customers and they give you. So it should be actually the other way around for me. So the next few things we will talk is probably the benefits business gets out of the safety initiative that was put in as IVMS. Now, this is the lowest improvement in fuel consumption. The best one is probably about 9% we got in one place, but that's a unique place. On an average, when you introduce this and start really training the people, guaranteed 4 to 5% average, I'm saying, over so many countries. And that's the sort of money that contractor of that country was saving by going through this process. This is the maintenance cost, and as I said, it's a simple, a no-brainer. If you don't rev up your engine, if you don't brake hard, obviously your maintenance cost will reduce. But collecting that data meticulously and do it. Let me tell you one, I'm talking of only IVMS and safety system, but today's IVMS systems are actually no more IVMS systems. They are the fleet management systems. They can give you driver data, vehicle data, when it is due for renewal, when it is due, hundreds of things it can do. But I'm talking a very tiny portion of that IVMS which we have used in getting this up. This may be very relevant to the passenger buses are also looking at. In our case, the on-time delivery is the retail station or the customer orders us and we need to supply the product, the quantity, quality agreed. Within 15 minutes of the agreed time. If it is plus minus 15 minutes, we count it as on delivery. And remember, some of the trips are 2 hours, go and come back. Some of them are 4 days trips. You need to drive 2 days, deliver and come back, depending on which part of the world you are talking about. So the delivery transport 15 minutes is extremely important. Where IVMS helps us is in planning this. For example, if I load it evening 5 o'clock and send the truck out, it will get stuck in the city jam and it will take 2 hours before going out. But if I load the same customer morning 5 o'clock, he would have gone out and gone. So those are similar. Buses can also think of where is the peak, how can we divert, etc. So advantages. And this is where customer satisfaction comes into picture. Yeah. And this is another chart you can think of. Normally, nobody would give you feedback unless you ask. But complaints will be already there. It's like a health system. I don't get up in the morning and jump and say, hey, I don't have headache today. I don't have body ache today. But the day I have headache, I will complain. That's how exactly most of the systems work. But the fact that we are able to receive so many feedback from the customers saying they are happy with, to me makes feel that we are meeting their requirements, we are meeting their demands, we are meeting their expectations. And that's the one I'm saying. And this is in the most developed country, the least accident country or the safest country, and that is UK. When it comes to road safety, I think UK is probably on the top 2 or 3 countries. Even there, you are able to reduce the number of incidents and thereby reduce your insurance claim. So in short, this wasn't, I don't think I will have much time to explain on this, but this is a very good case of explaining how an accident happened. The vehicle was going on, it was a dual rate road with a median in between. Tanker was on the left-hand side, lowest road. The vehicle from the other direction crossed the median, came and hit our tanker. Our driver did few defensive driving, what we have taught him. Obviously, he applied brake, he slowed down, he stopped, he flashed, he honked. This is all what he tells me he did. But this one chart can tell me whether he did it or not. I mean, a simple things like showing that he set the hazard lights on. He did put the brake on, you can see the brake light on coming. He switched, flashed here, headlight, beam light is on. All these things can be monitored and found out really did he do it. And I thought those are the best way of identifying. We actually rewarded this driver even though he was involved in incident because he did everything that was taught to him. I think I'll stop here on this. But one short request from my side, if you go for a system, just don't put and expect things to happen. You need to collect the data, analyze it, and collect only that report which you will be of use to you. And that is the, once you know that, the rest of the things will follow. But we also need to train the drivers when we know these things. And I stop here and say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kulkarni. I think that gives us a wonderful insight with your case study and examples on how monitoring the driver behavior and, of course, analyzing and following it through all important components for improving safety. Next, I would really call upon Dr. Minhas, who's the Deputy General Manager with Delhi Transport Corporation, and would really like to hear from you, sir, your experience, and he's been a wonderful supporter of the work that you've been doing, and it's great to have you on this session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Pawan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am grateful to WRI for giving me this opportunity to just have a talk with you on this ITS activities. I'll concentrate on the activities which are being carried out in my organization, that is Delhi Transport Corporation. First, I'll give a brief about my organization. The DTC, actually the permits in Delhi city was issued way back in 1935 when the permits were issued to a private company owned by Maharaja Gwalior, GNIT. In 1948, this company was nationalized and taken over by the government, and it is named as DTS, Delhi Transport Services. After that, this DRTA was formed, Delhi Transport, this Act was formed, and this services are brought under that Act. Then subsequently, NCD of Delhi has taken over the transportation activities of Delhi, and it has been renamed as DTU, Delhi Transport Undertaking. In 1971, under Road Transport Corporation Act, a corporation, this Delhi Transport Corporation was formed, and still we are naming this organization as DTC. It was earlier under the control of central government, but with the formation of Delhi government in 1996, this was handed over to Delhi government, and presently we are operating our buses under the control of Delhi government. Currently, we have a fleet of about 3781 low floor buses and 563 traditional standard buses, which are on the brink of extinction. We are not getting the buses, that's why we are running those buses. So as soon as we will get the buses, these buses will be off-road. During the Commonwealth Games, we were having a fleet of about more than 6,000 buses. Most of the buses are these standard buses. With the passage of time, those have been taken out of the fleet. We operate under 4 regions, that is East, West, South and North. We have got 4 regional managers who are heading these regions. Then we have 43 depots, which are 33 are mixed low floor, that is AC and non-AC, and rest are these standard bus depots. We have depot managers are the head of the depots. Then we operate about 555 routes, And in NCR, we don't operate long route services after the implementation of CNG. We operate routes in NCR region, that is Gurgaon, Ghaziabad, and all these cities, satellite cities around Delhi. Those are 11 in number. Delhi, we outside around 4,100 buses in the morning shift and almost similar number of buses in the evening shift. We operate third shift also during the night, but in that shift we operate only 96 night service, which are because more buses are not required during the night time. Our daily income is around 3 crores. The number of trips operated daily are 40,000. We operate 10 lakh kilometers daily, and average earning per kilometer comes to the tune of ₹36. This is not required. Then this is a general view how this our ITS works. We have control rooms, then we have servers. Through servers, we communicate with the, we have information from the buses, we communicate with the drivers, and we through this, we also communicate with these apps and all these things, we communicate with the passengers, we give information to the passenger, or whatsoever they ask through apps, we give reply to them. This is a general ITS view. Then now, organization needs an IT strategy. Basically, I have talked about some of these things. Revenue pilferage can be stopped only if we stop the onboard ticketing system. But still, in buses, normal buses, it is not possible. But it is possible in BRTs and metro. You are seeing that there is no onboard ticketing system. You have to buy the ticket or token from the counter, then you have to enter the train. Then ticketing convenience has to be given to the public as per his convenience, either through websites, mobile phones, or counters, whatsoever the customer want. Then payment, similarly, payment convenience is also to be given to the customer either through cards, net banking, or straightway cash dealing. Green initiative, the electronic tickets, railways you see nowadays, you need not to have a print ticket, just you show you in airlines also, just show your this ticket on this mobile, you can enter the vehicle, that is valid. Or pre-printed tickets have many faults. So with the use of ETMs, we can have a clear-cut printed tickets also. Then travel information to the public through timetables, expected time of arrival, departure, display through announcements, all these things can be done. Then operational control through monitoring, the regularity and punctuality of buses, unscheduled operation. If driver is diverted from its original route, that can also be monitored. Then passenger safety and security, monitor unauthorized harsh and overspeeding, that can be also judged through this GPS systems. Then disaster management, 24/7 this helplines, SOS information in disaster accident, breakdowns, hold-ups. These informations are very helpful. Then potential for increment of revenue through advertisements, through digital media. Then reduction in manual work, soft cost through ticketing. We can reduce the manpower through the implementation of ITS. Regarding data, say lot of data is generated at any point of time, throughout day, throughout week, throughout fortnight, throughout month. Lot of data is generated in the transport organization. We have, each commuter buys ticket daily, or once it enter one bus, the other bus, he buys a ticket. Then DTC operate a fleet of 4344 buses. This itself generates very large amount of data. Then 23.5 lakh of tickets are issued daily. Then 960 the number of duties running daily. We have say 550 routes, but each route have 10 number of duty, 20 number of duty, 100 number of duties. So we are operating on 9600 duties. Then 555 number of routes. Then 40,000 number of trips daily. 7,000 member of bus stops in the city. We have 7,000 bus all across the bus stands all across the city in Delhi. Then there is involvement of 13,000 number of drivers, 14,000 numbers of conductors. So these getting together all this huge data is to be huge data is generated, which is to be monitored through these ITS systems. Basically, DTC, the present status of DTC projects are that in November 2014 we put say CCTV camera in 200 buses, and 1.5 year is over and still not a single camera is there which is not functional. All this was our say, pilot project, and it was successful, and we are planning to go for CCTV camera in all the buses now. So we have put these CCTV camera in 2 depots, that is Rajghat depot and Sarojinagar depot. Control rooms are there. All these activities are being monitored, and police is asking us for many footages for resolving their cases. Even in the depots we have find that once drivers, if they don't say park the bus and don't put this handbrake over there, we have found out the case and shown that film to the driver, and he said that it is my fault. So number of this thing, with the closed door operation of buses in Delhi, so this pickpocketing has been reduced to large extent, because if someone pickpocket or do some misdeed in the bus, he cannot escape until unless the driver opens the door of the bus. So by this, there are so many this say odd activities has been reduced, and this, as I have already told that the police is also asking for the footages of all these things to resolve their cases. Then this odd even this ATMS, we have also we are in the process. We have put it in the 2 depots, and by the mid of this by mid of this year, we will be able to put this ATMS in all the buses, and our objective is by the end of this year the integration of these cards in this DTC as well as this metro. That's what the aim is. Then we are doing all other activities. All this biometric attendance is being done by in all the depots and headquarters. Then payroll and monitoring system of outshining of buses. This is in-house development is there. Then basically there are 3 type of say things by which through which this ITS will be helpful to us: better monitoring and enhanced efficiency of the transport corporation, security and safety of the commuters, and facilitating the traveling commuters. These are the various type of data which we are getting, that is duty-wise revenue, route-wise revenue. We can analyze these things route-wise. We can which is the best route in the depot, which is the worst route in the depot. Then there are many duties in the same route. Duties can also be analyzed. Then conductor-wise revenue can be seen, that which conductor is bringing on the same duty the highest cash, the lowest cash, so that he can be counseled accordingly. Then heavy boarding points and heavy lighting points can also be, you can come to know through these data, so that you can enhance the number of buses on that particular stretch, so that the boarding should, so that it should be easiness for the commuters. Then duty-wise kilometers, route-wise kilometers, driver-wise kilometers, and average time taken during operation of route. This all this with one click, this data can be analyzed. Then we can also say, monitor the performance of routes, performance of duties, performance of crew, performance of depot, performance of region-wise comparison can be done. Overall performance of the corporation, one corporation say performance can be compared with the other corporation. We have bus-wise performance, route-wise performance. All these can be these are comparable. Then, so accordingly we can fine-tune the route by focusing on the these heavy points. Fine-tuning of the timing of the trips can be done if required as per the requirement of the public. We can motivate the staff through these data. Security of commuters can be done. We have 2 methods for that: CCTV camera and global positioning system. CCTV, as I have told that CCTVs are there in the buses, so we can have any incident can be observed through that, and we can find out the person if he is doing some misdeed in the bus. That can be easily say plotted. Then GPS, anytime bus can be, you can find out where the bus is, what the driver, what speed the driver is running, and whether he is deviating the route or he is on the same route. These things can also be analyzed through these GPS data. Then facilitating the commuters, this is one of the major things, that any information the commuter can have when he starts from his house. He can just find out at what time the bus has to come at the station, and accordingly he can move out from his house. He can, if these systems are integrated, he can have the information of other mode of transport also, so that he can easily plan his journey to reach his office with minimum hindrance. The benefit, there are large number of benefits to the corporation: improve operational efficiency, reduce the operational costs, optimizing routes, trip using the MIS data from the system, increase earnings by retaining attracting candidates, effective tracking of off-route buses can be done. So there are large number of benefits. By analyzing this data, the operational efficiency can be enhanced. There is benefits to the crew also. Crew can be informed in case of any say odd situation is there on the route, or crew can just with a panic button can inform that this thing has happened on the route to the control room, so that needful can be done. It also helps them to, because when the crew knows that somebody is monitoring them, so they will certainly behave properly. Those who don't behave properly, they can be sent to training school, and they can again given the proper training to enhance his training habits. Passenger information system is there, that is through SMS mobile. Then important reports can be generated, which will be of very helpful. These are daily bus stop skip report. You can have this report of each and every driver who has skipped the stands. Then daily speed violation reports you can have. Then driver duty performance report, daily, weekly, monthly, whatsoever you want. Daily outshining deviation report, driver wise, daily improper stopping report, then detail of the missed trips. All these things, there is no need to sit, put the manpower and have all this data, and easily with one click you can have all these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Minhas, for presenting the initiative taken by DTC at various fronts in improving the service for passengers and driver behavior.
Okay, good morning to everybody, and thank you to WRI for giving this opportunity. What I am going to do is, I am going to take from where Mr. Minhas left. He gave some insight into what can be done, and I am taking from there, and I am trying to tell you what is being done by various cities. Before that, I will just introduce. I am belonging to DIMTS. It's a joint venture company of Delhi government and IDFC Foundation. And the important part is that we are managing a bus fleet of around 1,500 in Delhi. And we are tracking around 100,000 vehicles every day. That's very important when we talk about the data. A lot of data is coming to our control center, and probably tomorrow all of you are going to see that. And some of this data we are utilizing. So some of that insight also I am going to give as part of my presentation. But the overall reference to this presentation is that we are doing a work with Shakti Foundation. And what they have actually supported is to study various STUs who are working in urban transportation, just see their processes, what kind of processes in various systems in terms of data collection, in terms of the maintenance systems, what they are doing right now, what are the best practices, and then how we can reach to those best practices. So presently we are actually talking to around 12 cities, and I am going to give you some insight into what we gathered from around 10 cities in last 1.5 months of our interaction. There are 5 areas if we really look into. I mean, areas are many, but I am going to focus on these 5 areas where the data in urban bus system can be utilized. The first one is the route planning and route rationalization. The second is concession development and award. When I mean concession development, I mean a lot of cities are going for now, let's say, gross cost model. How you really develop these clusters of the routes, what kind of data get into that. The third is service deployment and optimization for the data collection. These cities either procured it or in the process, advanced process of procuring it. Similar thing is happening in terms of the GPS. So one point is clear that everybody understood the requirement of these technologies, and they are in few years time, most of these organizations are going to have this data coming in. And then some of these cities also on the right hand side you see started using certain softwares. Now software can be complicated, but then their interest towards the software or using some of these technologies is also evident from the kind of analysis we did as part of our discussions. Now just to get into the insight, what we mean by this using data, how people are traveling, just to relate that with the kind of supply you are providing. So you analyze the demand, you provide the supply rather than using your judgments and using your or city knowledge. That is also important, but then using the hardcore data to provide the supply provisions. And presently the biggest problem is that while a lot of people probably want to do it, the day will come and that you just require the interface to analyze it and do the supply provisions. On the concession development again side, we are saying develop these clusters looking some kind of competitive parameter. One cluster, if you are developing, should have certain criteria under which these should be developed. We did some analysis and some kind of data crunching when we developed a clustering or cluster system for Delhi, but that was also now quite old, and we are now moving towards a probably more progressive approach towards that. So we mean that using a lot of data in the scientific analysis of any decision we make for this. In terms of the service deployment, I'm talking about the timetable optimization using whatever GPS times coming, using the multiple times of the day and capturing the congestion, frequency optimization, more looking ETM data of the bus stop wise, and the fleet optimization while looking into the interlining trips. Service model cluster, we utilize this data for making the supply provision, and it worked reasonably in some of the cases. While the data was a little old, but then in large number of the cases it worked. Mesur again did a lot of work on that, and they also utilized for reorganizing their route system and a trunk feeder network, and they took this data and then tried to develop this trunk feeder, and then they did this analysis and used that for developing some of the feeder connection or extending the BRT routes to the different areas. Bangalore again the trunk feeder system which was developed, and the Raipur is again doing this kind of analysis. So the cities are doing in their level, they are understanding. However, the data is presently used is manual. Now the challenge is how we can really automate this data, how this data is very easily available, creating through some interfaces from the GPS and from the ETM, and this data can be utilized for this route planning practices in a very least cost manner, and also using the mobile data. Now, what is the outcome and experience? What is the benefit actually these cities experience? Mysore, for example, reported that whatever routes they reorganized, it was a mixed response. So some 50 to 60% routes, they really found the improvement. That's what they reported to us in that. And in terms of the concession development, there's not much work done, only except probably in Delhi, where we in 2008-9 developed these clusters and utilized whatever data was available of the route overlaps and related things. But now there are new techniques available, so I'll advise all the cities who are now going for this gross cost model and something like awarding the concessions. If they want to develop these clusters, they can utilize these new methods and the parameter, which are very simple, not very complicated, not very cost extensive, but using the same data which is available with you for developing these cluster schemes. In terms of the service deployment, again I'll say a lot of work has been done by the Mysore. Mysore, for example, there is one example on the middle where they say initially they used to adopt a 20 km/h speed for developing their timetable. And the bunching monitoring is also being done by the Mysore and partly in Delhi. When you go to our control center, you will see some of the examples of that. The benefits reported, for example, for everything we need to have some kind of a reporting, and we ask the cities what is your experience, and this is one of the chart where we say, they say that there has been a real improvement actually in terms of the scheduled kilometers, saving the number of hours or the duty hours for this. So there has been indication that in our condition, our local situation also, these approaches are really working towards the optimization. In Delhi, we are, for example, doing a lot of analysis using this GPS data, where actual versus the scheduled time analysis we are doing, the number of various trips also we are analyzing in different levels. This is one of the graph which we are using for looking into the bunching happening. While there is a challenge because we only manage a part of the service, DTC also manages, and GPS system is not available entirely in the DTC fleet. Therefore, there are issues in terms of bunching analysis with us, but in future probably when all the vehicle are having this, we'll be doing this analysis in much better way. We are also doing this revenue analysis where we are analyzing the data pairs, OD data pairs from the ETM data, and then analyzing and doing the service provisioning in the different routes. If you really conclude this way, that most of this analysis which we are doing, they are basically improving the whole system. If you see on the chart on one of the routes, we started with earning per kilometer 25 to 29 or 30. I mean, it has improved the ridership, it has improved the kind of revenue thing. Some of the, for example, other example is developing the, we pay the concessionaire based on the certain, so there are bonuses and penalties. All these penalties and bonuses are measured through the GPS system. So all that is being also done in our bus management system in Delhi. Now, for example, this is one of the performance which we are having in cluster buses based on these KPIs. Now, I'll very quickly move to the other part and take 2 more minutes basically. Some of these information which I am saying in terms of the service delivery to the users, some of the cities, most of the cities rather, are looking now the app, mobile app system. Delhi, you have a Pucho app where we have now integrated even the parking, public transport, auto rickshaws, everything. But most of the cities are developing these apps. But a lot of new areas where the other cities are working, for example, wait time factors, the occupancy, crowding, transfers. These are the areas which probably also we have to analyze from the user perspective and define the level of service. Very quickly, I'll show some of the international example how they are doing. So one of the important example is the Seoul, who did a lot of work in this area. They have a bus management system, they have a passenger information system, where they are doing all these analysis which we have discussed, route rationalization, optimization of service, extra buses, taking from one side and putting in the other side, crowding analysis, bunching analysis. They communicate with the driver through the dashboard, tell them that how much headway he has to create. All that help actually for efficiency enhancement in their system. They have a similar kind of bus information system also, where they are informing the users about ETA and the operational time status on this. And a lot of improvement also they have shown, the improvement in the satisfaction level of the people after implementing this. In some of the Chinese cities also they are doing. So they are doing very comprehensively, mapping the passenger crowding on the various places, matching the congestion levels, and then providing the supply of the buses. And again, the benefits are reported at some 10% in terms of the reduction in the fleets and reduction in the time. There are various other examples, like Singapore used this data for reducing the peak crowding. So taking the data, they started some incentive scheme so that people who need not travel in the peak hour actually miss the peak hour or kind of spreading the peak hour. And they found a lot of results out of that. Sao Paulo, this is the last example, which is very recent. One of the very recent startup started this Urban Engines, who is basically giving them on the city level, the crowding level, the occupancy level at the various places in the city. And also on the stations, the BRT stations, where what is the occupancy, what is the passenger queuing, what is the wait time at various levels. And they are also generating this data through smart. And this is being done for 17,000 buses in Latin American cities. So conclusion is that a lot of data we are going to get, and this is the future actually. But and the clear benefits are recorded for this data. Now the point is how we create these. I personally feel that proprietary software probably won't work in our situation. They are very costly and they are they are actually very complicated. We need to start from probably from a very basic level. So using this data, creating these interfaces, understanding the local knowledges of this, and using this data to do all these 5-6 cover these 5-6 areas is what is going to be challenging. And a lot of our people who are in the sector and understand the operation, understand the IT systems, they need to come out, and probably some startup in India should also be coming out and create some very simple solution for our cities. That's what my conclusion is for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for I think it's a very insightful presentation on giving a comparison between 10 different cities, on what progress they have been made in ITS and how they are actually using the data. And it's quite evident that we have come a long way and we still have a long way to go. I think after the wonderful presentation that we have had on ranging from safety, efficiency and improving operations, I would like to throw it open to the audience for Q&A. Yeah, Siddharth, we can have a mic.
It is available, and if it is available, how to make it widely, accessible to the, particularly the public transport vehicles, because I see they simply, are running so much risk, not to themselves, but to the pedestrians and to the cyclists and to the two-wheelers. And they've got such modern buses, Volvos, which can really accelerate, but they brake so harshly. So, this is, your IT system can monitor, perhaps maybe BMTC goes for it in Bangalore, but what about the training part? Even without IT system, if the training is done, they'll be aware that this is not something, they love doing those, harsh braking, and because the vehicle is really designed for it, but not the, pedestrians. So, will you, Shell, can they make this available widely so that our NGO can, convert it to regional languages and see that BMTC maybe it can be accessible on a mobile app or something. But there is, I see, my heart really beats for those guys on the road, the way these guys are driving, and they are not doing it intentionally, let's admit. They're simply not aware that there is something like defensive driving. Thank you.
Sure. So I think we'll take 2-3 questions. This is on how do we scale and access the information. Yeah, Siddharth.
Hi, Siddharth from NIUN. So I wanted to pose a question either to DIMS or the DTC. One of the key components that's missing from ITS is capturing user experience, and radio aggregators have already done it, because increasing revenue does not necessarily reflect on the cleanliness of the bus, the overall experience that a user has. I mean, let's be honest, users have a pretty bad experience in most of the city buses. So is there any thought being given by any of the city bus systems to use ITS and actually just capturing simple user experience feedback to monitor their overall performance?
One more question.
I have one last question. I just wanted to add to that what he has explained. I want to focus on occupancy actually. As Menas sir was explaining about,
Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Namit Kaur from Rights Limited. I just wanted to add, like Menas sir was saying that, and Tims was also saying that we can track the monitoring of buses on road by GPS. So can we also monitor what is the occupancy of those buses, so that then we can actually move on, and then in the pipeline can further book our tickets also online. First thing, and second question is we have a crush capacity of around 50 to 60 passengers per bus. So is there a particular count also, like how many persons are getting into the bus at a particular time, like boarding and alighting sort of thing, which is not being done right now, I suppose.
Yeah, and the first question, the answer to the first question in terms of the user is that now there are mobile apps available. I mean, all the cities are doing this mobile app, and there the feedback can be given. The feedback, in fact, this was one of the questions we posed to all these 10 cities. And what they are saying is that in terms of the customer experience, we have now multiple channels. You can get into their website and then report something like that. For example, in DIMS, for the cluster buses, if you call us or you send a mail to us about some kind of thing, one very peculiar thing happened is one of our colleagues their son actually was getting into the bus, and then the driver closed the door before that, and he had some problem, and then that was the time I joined the DIMS, and he reported it actually without telling the thing. And what happened is, internally, as soon as this thing is, there was an inquiry actually which was set up, and the driver was put on hold actually, off duty, and then after the inquiry only this was done. So what I'm trying to say is that all these, the channels are now established. You can SMS it, you can put on the internet, you can give it by the mobile app. So all these channels are there, and internal systems are also now available in all the organization to kind of mitigate the situation. So that's about the first question. The second question is about the occupancy level. Now, occupancy, actually, if you go to the Pucho app in the what we have, you find a thing where we say seat availability. Now seat availability is available, but it's a slightly proxy. This is a kind of a calculation we do because we have a stage kind of player system where we actually know the what stage this guy has actually taken the ticket, and then what stage he is likely to exit. Now I don't know where he is exit, so I'll see his ticket. If it is a 5 rupee ticket or whatever, he is supposed to get into the 3 stage. I assume that he will get down from the 3rd stage only, and based on that I calculate the seat availability. But once we have this automatic passenger counter system, which are there in Latin American some of the cities, then this is very much possible actually to get the real occupancy numbers and all that.
Is it in the pipeline also, so that we can book the tickets online?
For what? Online, right now it is not in pipeline. I mean, I don't see, because we are struggling still with the basic systems of this. But probably in the future, probably the coming years, probably after a year or so, you will find. For example, for parking already we are working on online reservation system in there. So there it's possible on this. This is little complicated. So probably once we have these other equipment also, onboard units and counters and other things, probably this is the next stage of
because we have 2 different portals for DTC and I suppose
right now, yes.
so that we can patch up both and then.
So right now it's slightly fragmented, I will say, because the DTC.
Because I was also saying there's an issue.
The issue is that once we have all the buses having GPS, then only you can comprehensively look into it. Right now, for example, 1500 buses you have, some of the 200, 300 buses of DTC have. Once they have all the data, all the GPS, all the data is there for all modes available, then only you can look for those comprehensive.
Thank you.
My last question. No, 1 second, we'll have this question, the earlier question answered on scale up.
Yeah, I think your question is very 100% fully agreed, and I'm of the firm opinion that no individual is bad. He is as good as what he has been taught to. And I will give you a simple example. I attended one of these courses in Delhi here when our own white-collar staff were being trained. Simple question, how many of you have gone through the driver training school to get your license? Put hands up. We had 20 people sitting in the room, 2 of them raised hands. So, white-collar staff, we had 10% people who got their driving. If you go through the training school, I went through this in back 70s. But I can tell you they teach everything. At least they used to teach everything. I don't know now. Similarly, if you go in other countries, say UK, you have to write a test, written test, then you have to be on the road for 30 minutes, and there is a computer hazard perception test where you are sitting on a simulator like driving, and you need to find, and there will be a parked car which opens the door, a ball comes, a child runs. You need to anticipate and you need to click the things on. Now, 70% you have to score before you get your license. So anyone who comes on the road with license is there right up to that level. Compare us where we are in India, Pakistan, other countries. Anyone we can go and get a license, right? So the problem is the system. Now coming to the other part of your question, can us do something? I thought we have doing a lot as Shell in India, although we are very small. As many, if you go into the Bangalore airport cab, one particular cab company drivers were trained, and about 150 auto rickshaw drivers have been trained. We can do so much. We can't solve the world's hunger. The answer is we are definitely working with WRI in helping the training set up in BST or BMTC. We can bring their trainers and show what we do. Yeah, very much willing to do it, help us, and I think that's where Shell India can also work with it.
Thank you very much, sir, for the committee.
We can also try for the with cameras in bus stops, important bus stops, to identify the number of stranded passengers. It will definitely help us in our planning of buses trips. Another issue is the same cameras, in-bus cameras can be used to. Is it possible to identify the occupancy at any point of time, any given time? Because we have in-bus cameras. This may be a new idea if you can develop something of that.
We'll take next, so that was one of the, yeah, Anusha, you have a question there.
Hi, this is Anusha from UL. So my question is to Ashok sir. So you've mentioned that you've been able to achieve zero fatality. Firstly, congratulations on that. So my question was, what has been the driving factor, to change things on ground? Has it been the defensive driving that you have been offering, or has it been fear of holding these drivers accountable? That's my question. Because you so closely monitor driver performance, has that, changed the driver behavior?
Any other question? Yeah, Prashant. We have that one there also.
Mr. Anjuman this side. I noticed that there are 38,000 trips handled every day by DTC itself. So data collected is too much. So human or any interface must be scrutinizing the data. What is the time taken to scrutinize the data till the new data is getting serviced? And what is the operational cost of it?
So mine was on the cost aspect. So like this is to Dave, because you're doing a survey of all the different cities. I wanted to know how many of these agencies are actually doing a cost benefit analysis. There is a lot of money spent on this. What is the level of benefit that they have actually derived in terms of the changes that they have made, like something like will be important to take?
So I think we'll take these three questions. If the questions related to this, we can take, otherwise we'll take the next question.
I think it was Anush, right?
Can I ask a question?
We'll take
That's one.
no, I'm good.
Okay, Anush, quick one. I mean, I don't think it should take long to say. Yes, IVM, as I said, when I stand and talk, normally it is few hours. 10 minutes is too short. So IVMS is probably 5 to 10% of our measurements that we have done. There are many other things we have got. As I heard the driver award scheme, we do very much. But we don't restrict it only to this. But we extend it to their uniform, their cleanliness, customer feedback, etc. etc. So you need that, but the real advantage, your second question was, is it the reward or is it the consequence management that brings into security? There is a lot of research done on this, differing opinions on that. But personally, my experience is more than consequence management, the rewards that you give make the better behavior from the driver. So it's a long story, but I can tell you, yes, consequence management, you will fire him or her, whoever it is. But the real hearts and minds, when you work with the driver, bring their families for once a year meeting, tell them what you are doing for their husband, father, wife, son, whatever it is to do, makes a big change. And then the number of drivers leaving you also reduces, their behavior changes. In Malaysia, wife called the company and said, my husband did not sleep yesterday, don't give him duty today. I mean, that can happen only when you win their hearts and minds. Thank you, sir. On the cost benefit.
It's a very good question actually, and people have to in the organization actually analyze that way. During our survey, I would say only one organization like Mesut, they are the people who can really relate it. For example, they did various pilot projects for the routing. So routing, when they changed it, what was the EPK before and after, they did that kind of thing. When they implemented this time checking software, also they did some. But what also we found is that these people are a bit struggling in the sense that there is a technology provider coming with a lot of technology and he's not having a lot of experience in operation. So that is a big gap between you have a technology and he's developing the KPIs and bus companies don't know what they want, and so there is a kind of interfacing required where the technology provider and the user is on a very low level, he is day to day quite busy in terms of their working. So I think that is the missing part where that interface somebody has to really create between them. Otherwise, if I in Delhi develop some kind of thing, some KPI is that I as a technology supplier just go and dump wherever I want. They use it, they don't use it, and they also don't understand. That interface is quite missing. Except Masood, I will say your observation is very correct. Nobody is doing it.
Just one follow-up. Is there a way, because the reason because you are even a service provider, I'm asking, is there a way for the industry, the vendors to come back and say, we can do a model where we are actually measuring the impact on the benefits and then based on that we make a charge. Rather than selling a software, rather than selling an equipment.
Successful models are there, like Mumbai model of what Trapeze is doing. Those are the successful model, but there also the problem is that these are all software coming from outside, and if you really see the pricing of it, it's huge. As soon as you listen to that, you'll just kind of die. So what I'm saying, and most of these things you are not going to use, 98%, only 2% you are using, and they can sell it to the people who don't understand that, but not to the people who really understand that how. So that is the problem. Even within the successful model, it is not work. That's why I said we need a very initial kind of thing where basic MIS can be improved. The basic decision making can be improved. That's what Ravi said. That's the real point where all the MIS system, which is 20-year-old, has to be really revamped with this kind of data. That's the basic requirement.
I think following up on this question on having 40,000 trips and how do you...
Basically, I have told that we are operating about 9600 duties. That means double to this number, drivers and conductors are going on the buses. They are being issued with the memos to the driver, that is duty schedule to the driver, and waybill to the conductor on the waybill, all the ticket details, etc. is written. So these are being issued to them. While back to duty, they deposit same to the money to the cash section and waybill to the ticket section. So all these things will not be required at that time. For this, you can say at present we are 6% during the night are booked on for this purpose only. 9%, 36 into 43 depots. These much number of manpower is being used for tackling all this data. But afterwards, say only operators are required. With one click, you will have, say throughout night, this cash section and ticket section person, they just keep on calculating duty-wise cash. Then they match. If that doesn't match, if some conductor has done some mischief, he has say deposit short cash by 10 rupees. So they become mad till morning. They are not in a position to calculate that where this 10 rupees has gone. So they have to they have to search that conductor. They have to go through each and every. They will search out that person. So lot of cost is manpower cost is involved. Lot of this say figure work is involved. That is not required when this ETM and this GPS, all these things are in position. And cost wise, it will be very less.
GPS data is already coming. Who is scrutinizing the GPS data?
Presently, actually, GPS was put on our buses, but there are some problems with the vendor. Only 5% buses it has left, and now we are going for a fresh tender for that. That's why we have not come up with the PIS system presently. So once this GPS system, we are going to do the tender. Once it will stabilize, we will go for PIS and all those things. So certainly, the cost will be reduced.
We have last round of questions, so we take 3 questions. Yes, please.
I'm Bai Zhongliu from WRI China. We have one question. For example, you have several bus companies. And in China, we found different bus companies have different data systems. So like you buy this kind of GPS equipment, its data format is very difficult compared with another companies. So how you integrate it? Another question is, for example, even the CAN bus data, different bus manufacturers have different standards in China. So it's very difficult you integrate the different bus vehicles data together. So this is the first question. Second question is, how you open your data? Because I think the different bus companies are competitor. For example, I know your driver's behavior. I know this guy is good. So if you open to me, I will pay more money to have this guy. So what's the relationship of your open data among the different companies?
I think that's a very interesting, valuable question. In fact, our next session after lunch is on this data format and how the standardization. I'll let some of the panelists answer. We can take 2 more questions. We had a question. Someone wanted. Yeah.
I'm Rumu from the Times of India. I have 2 questions. Both are for Mr. Sharma from DIMS. Actually, after the order even last phase in January, the Delhi government had announced that DIMS would be roped in to do the route rationalization for DTC, which has been pending for a very long time. My question was, what's the status of that study? My second question was that, like Mr. Sharma mentioned, you have an app called Pucho, which again during the last audible had introduced the carpooling segment. I wanted to know what's been the response in terms of number of registered users, and is there any kind of analysis or trends that you have got from that data? Thank you.
Thank you. And one last question. Pass on. Okay, we have 2 more. Yeah, Nisha.
Oh, sorry. Nisha with Daisy. I was wondering if there's a plan to work with cab companies and auto drivers to look at, how people are actually traversing the city, to reimagine routes, add new routes, make them more direct, make them shorter, to appeal to more different classes of people so that they will use the bus. And I want to just reiterate the open data question. How do you plan to make this data more available?
One last question.
I'm Madan Vatsode, Executive Engineer of Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation. My question is from Mr. Minas from DTC. You have shown in your presentation the daily income of DTC is 3 crores. The expenditure is not shown. Whatever expenditure is done is not shown. So by deploying this system, whether it has helped to reduce the economy loss, whether you can tell it clearly.
We will take the questions from Mr. Sharma, please.
I'll take first your question. On the GPS side, we have, for example, in Delhi, we have a standard system where the vendors are identified and the specification is shown. Therefore, that way actually those are standardized. On the open data, it's basically, I'm not government, so it's basically government policy, but the data is coming now. And probably if we all will be agree and then everybody will be agree with, then probably some time, some years, some months, it should be open, it will be open. That's my understanding. But I can't say whether it will be opened or not. But government will also recognize that how the trend is happening and what are the benefits. And benefits are clear from everywhere. Therefore, I feel moving forward probably all the data will be open and available. The other question was on odd even, see it was a very short duration program, therefore we had around 50,000 downloads around that time, but then I had to cross check the last figure because I am not that updated on that. And so those people actually downloaded the app, but I think we need a lot more marketing for the people, because initially when you do this carpooling, car sharing programs, and you have to upload the data of your registration, vehicle registration, other things, matching with the people. People have little fear with whom they are going and they are issues with that. So I think this will take little time. We'll have to keep working on it to market this, that it's basically we have all the data of the co-passengers and it's safe and things like that. So it will evolve with the time. That's what my understanding on this.
Is there any trends from it?
Pardon?
Are there any trends from that data?
I'll have to check out actually, to be very frank. We can come back to you on that very specifically with the team. That route rationalization, actually there is no form of plan right now. I mean, I am not aware of that there is any study being done. There was a discussion happened actually on the government level that we'll be doing it. But then it requires again large data on the various things. So as of today, I don't know that if there is a plan of doing it immediately. That's my understanding.
I think one last question was to Nisha on the integration with rickshaws and reimagining routes and
So that actually, while it should be enhanced, at certain times what we did is we, on our internet and mobiles, actually we have opened this system where you can really give your suggestion on the particular route and particular type of service you want to have. So we did these customer surveys and all, and online internet based kind of surveys where you can really do it. And a lot of even these shuttle and these mini bus companies are also doing, where you can say, I want to go from here to here, this is my preferred route. So we also did that. But right now it's not there on the internet, but this is a very good suggestion actually. The DTC, the DIMS, the transport department, everybody should have that portal where the people come and then give feedback of their choices of the route. And we aggregate that data and use for the planning process. So I think it's a good suggestion.
We'll get the last response from Dr. Minhas on the
One important thing is ticketless travel. Is there anything that we can do with about ticketless travel? Because this is going to give a big dent on our financial aspects.
First of all, I respond to your query. Yes, we are earning about 3 crores daily, and I figure more figure I have shown you, 36 rupees per kilometer we are earning. But our expenditure is rupees 50 per kilometer. So on per kilometer of operation, we are losing about 15 rupees. Our budget is for 2,000 crore per annum, and we have a pact with the government that 50% we will earn and 50% they are giving us as loans. So huge loss which DTC is showing is not only operating losses, but these are the losses of loans, then interest on loans, then interest on interest. All this is being added to that. That's why this huge loss is being shown, which is not the right way of calculation. Actually, we are having 34 type of passes, and out of these only one pass is there with 1,000 rupees, which is giving full amount to us. Rest all are concessional or free passes, and we don't get any subsidy for those. So that is also this thing. Then our this fare structure it was revised in 2009, and we are now in 2016. In this 6-7 years, no revision of this fare structure has taken place. Even Metro has raised their fare 3 times, but no fare revision for DTC. So these are the basic reasons. So regarding your this thing, then if we want to come into profits, say to break even, we must get 4.25 crores earning daily, then we will come to break even, and beyond that will be profits, I think, which is next to impossible. Thank you.
I would really like to thank question.
Do you get refund for the police personnel traveling free in the world?
We are getting nothing. We have written to the police commissioner that at least whatever they are getting that transport allowance, that will be credited to DTC. But they have not agreed. Rather, they have started chalaning DTC drivers, and why you are asking for this.
I would really like to thank the panelists, Mr. Sabri Sharma, Dr. Ranjan Satish, Mr. Ashok Kulkarni, Dr. Minhas, and Dhaval for this wonderful session and insight ranging from safety, efficiency, and operations. I think it's been a wonderful session. Let's give them a very big hand. And we have the next session right away. It will be a very short presentation by Mr. Ranjit Gadgil from Parishad. They have done a very interesting initiative, the Transport Governance Initiative TGI. I'll call on my colleague Chavi to really introduce Mr. Ranjit and about the session. Thank you.